Hi, hello, welcome back to another book related video here on my channel. From the thumbnail or also the title, you may know that I will be trying to read only 50 pages for a whole entire month. It's not too many pages, but at the same time, I want a little bit of a challenge. I've been trying to tackle my TBR. I did really well in January. I read 10 books off my TBR. It's all my physical TBR, and I haven't bought any books so far. I actually just got a $50 gift card for Amazon, so I will be buying books, of course. But other than that, I haven't bought any books. I've been reading majority of my books, but this month in February, which it is February 14th, it's Valentine's Day, I've only finished one whole book, and I'm about almost 300 pages into a second book and maybe like 30 pages into a third book. And I have 6 books on my TBR. I'd like to at least tackle as much as I can on my TBR, but more than anything, at least finish 4 whole books this month. With that being said, I am definitely going to be trying to do this challenge, and I've done the reading 100 pages a day every day for a week. I did that video. I only did that once. I only tried that challenge once, and this time I don't know if it's ever been done before. I haven't really ever seen this concept before. I, for some reason in the shower last night, decided I'm gonna make a reading challenge of a whole month long of reading only 50 pages a day, which equates after 30 whole days to 1,500 pages, which isn't that much, to be honest. I know we are busy, and also with us kind of being busy right now, especially with the dually, because we actually have an issue with the dually. The other issue is the fact that this is pretty much the only month that I will be able to do this challenge in theory. From this month to next month, it'll be February 14th to March 14th. A whole month after that, April, we will be gone. We will be leaving Vegas and going to Kentucky. We'll be moving. And so because of that, I don't think I will have another free month where I can basically sit down and try and read at least 50 pages a day. And I'm really going to try and stick to this challenge. I want to first preference by saying I don't know how long this video is going to be. Obviously, you watching this right now can just look and see how long, but my goal is to keep it at least under an hour, and more than anything under 30 minutes, because around 20 to 25 minutes, the app that I edit on the computer, it starts lagging, and I have been making videos so long here lately that I am so tired of dealing with it. So I'm trying not to make this video that long. With that being said, I may not honestly record too much. I will not be recording every single day to see if I hit 50 pages. I have it planned out to where at the end of each week, I will update, kind of do like a wrap up of that week, see how many days I actually hit my goal, and then also see the total number of pages that I read that whole week. I kind of want to do that for sure, update 4 times. I feel like that's really good. Maybe I'll have some snippets like of me reading, or at least POV shots. And then the other thing is, last night, since like I said, I thought of this in the shower for some reason, I ended up getting out and then instantly going on Canva, and I created this little planner kind of to help me. We just have February and March. I put 2 different templates together. They were 2 different monthly templates, and I just smashed them together on one piece of paper. So I've highlighted from the 14th of February, like I said, all the way to the 14th of March. This is a little bit more than 4 weeks. It's 4 weeks in a day, but I just wanted to keep it simple and keep it with the 14s. This isn't the best example. It was just an example to make sure that I understood as the weeks go out exactly what I wanted. So with that being said, let's say we start on page 1. I don't know why I put 1 and not 0, but we start on page 1 and we end the day on page 10. That's 9 pages total read, because I'm just going to subtract my end number from my beginning number, and then I'll come over here and I'll put the total number of that whole week. So every day I'll add up all the totals, and then of course I'll put it all the way over here. I feel like this is going to be the best method. In the past, with certain reading challenges, certain videos I have done where I wake up every single day and I write down my page number that I ended up on the night before. That is the best way for me, because I don't always write down or keep up with my books like on Goodreads when I'm going to bed. I just kind of put it off, and then I'll remember after I already start reading. So if I try and do it in the morning like I have in the past, I know that this system has worked for me. And then like I said, I put up here 30 days by 50 pages is equal to 1,500 pages. Even if we don't read 50 pages a day every single day, my overall goal is to at least read 1,500 pages in the 4 weeks at the bare minimum. So I'm really excited to see at the very end of this how many pages I read in this whole video, and also of course do some statistics at the end of this video. Like I said, I do have 2 books that I'm currently in the middle of, or at least I have started. The first one is actually All the Light That We Cannot See, and I'm 262 pages into this book. So I'm almost halfway. I do believe it's around 49% actually, so I'm right before halfway. And my goal today is honestly to get past 50 pages, around 350 or so. That's my goal for this book. And then I'm actually 56 pages into Pearl Harbor's Final Warning. I started this, I read like 25 pages one day, and then the other basically 30 pages the next day. Then I kind of haven't touched it for almost a week, I think now. It's been a while. I haven't touched this book in a while. Probably want to finish All the Light We Cannot See first, and then go into this one, finish this one, and then pick another book, probably off my TBR, to be honest. But I just want to do that so that way I can finish both of these, since I have both of them started and both of them are on my physical TBR and also my monthly TBR. Those are the 2 books I'm currently reading. And then also also, this is my intro. Without further ado, let's see what all we can accumulate over the next month. Welcome to our first week update. Also, it is raining outside, which is very exciting since this is the desert and it doesn't rain very often. So if you hear that in the background, that's great. I want to go over the few books that I ended up picking up and then also what we accomplished, what we didn't accomplish, and I wanted to say how many pages I read in total for the week. First, I'm going to talk about Pearl Harbor's Final Warning. I only read about 50 or so pages of this book and I'm to 108. There's only 310 pages of this whole entire book and I've almost gotten to the point where I was really excited in the beginning, but now I almost feel like I'm kind of bored of it, which is kind of sad. I just want to honestly push myself to try and finish it because I'm a third of the way there. That's all I really have to say about this book. Next, we also have All the Light We Cannot See, and I ended up actually finishing this book, which was a huge accomplishment, and also it was my first 5-star read of the whole entire year, which also is very exciting. I feel like this is the reason why I was reading so many pages a day, and for the most part, I was enjoying it just because it was historical fiction. It was also taking me a little bit longer, probably about 2 minutes per page. I usually read about 45 to maybe 55 pages in an hour, and I feel like I was reading about 20 pages with this book in an hour. But I ended up finishing it. I loved it. And then on Saturday, probably about 8 p.m., maybe 10 p.m. at night, I all of a sudden decided to pick up because I could not get into the Final Warning, the Pearl Harbor Final Warning. So I picked up Girl in Pieces and I ended up sitting down and reading this for 76 pages, which was very exciting just because the chapters were very short, especially in the beginning. They were about a page and then maybe 2 pages long, and then they would go up to 3 to 5 pages and then they would go back down to like a page. So it helped a lot and I felt like this book was really easy to glide through so far. I'm enjoying it, especially because of how fast I can read it, but at the same time, I'm not enjoying it. Like, it's not my favorite book, for sure. I kind of feel like it might be a 3-star. I'm a little bit indifferent about it. Worst case scenario, I finish this book, I've rated whatever I rated, and then I end up getting rid of it for my free little library. But so far, it's not necessarily bad. It's just not a book that I think I'm gonna want to keep forever. Technically, for our first week, we only read for 4 whole days. That's how we started the week off since I started on a Wednesday, February 14th. So for Wednesday, I actually ended up reading 136 pages, which was very amazing since I more than doubled, almost tripled my goal. Thursday, I only read 50 pages and I started reading so late at night that those 50 pages were so hard to get to. I remember I was tearing up and almost passing out. Friday, I read a total of 84 pages. And then on Saturday, I read a total of 128 pages. In total for our 4 days, for our first week, I read a total of 398 pages, which was very exciting. A very great start to this challenge. This week has already started off not as good as last week, but at least above our goal. And it's been about 2 days in this week. I just haven't updated in a little bit. So I'm really excited to continue and finish this week and see if we can read. In theory, we should read more than we did last week. That's all I really have for our first week update. Hello, we have another week update. I feel like this week we did pretty good, and then also there were a few days that we didn't do so good. On Sunday, I read a total of 54 pages. On Monday, a total of 58. Tuesday, I read 0 pages. And then Wednesday, I read 12 pages. Those were really 2 bad days, but I do have an excuse. I had a medical procedure, and then also that same week around, I think it was me on Tuesday, and then on Thursday, my son ended up actually having surgery. So I have some excuses, not by much though. I did, however, on Thursday read 74 pages, and then on Friday, I read 128 pages. Finally on Saturday, 144. We did tack back up some of those page numbers, but the very beginning of the week was definitely kind of bad. In total, for the entire week, I read 470 pages, which was more than last week. This week, I've already started off a lot better than last week, so I'm hoping to continue. We're all just healing. If you can't tell, we've been kind of sick. We, of course, when my son has surgery, picked something up from the hospital, which was great. Of course. So it's been kicking our butts for the last couple days. We're on the outskirts. We're getting better. For the majority of last week, I just read Girl in Pieces. It was okay. I kind of like it, but I don't like it enough. It was like 3 stars. It was kind of like a meh book. I was entertained for the first part, and then also the last part of the book really picked up for me. The middle part, I was just kind of didn't really care too much about it. I feel like I'm going to donate this to my free little library though, to be honest. It's not something I really care to keep on my shelf. And then I picked up our book club for our local community, this book, because I hadn't read it yet. And also, this is the last week of February today. Like, I have 2 days left of February, today and tomorrow. So I ended up just finishing this the other night, I think yesterday actually. This was A Housemaid. I enjoyed this a lot. It was 4 stars. I also went into this book thinking completely different. I thought she was only locked in a room and she used to peep through the keyhole and see things outside the keyhole, and that is not exactly what happened in this book. I went into it having different opinions about it or different thoughts about it, and then when I was reading it, I was kind of confused on how this was going to play into what I originally thought. And then finally, when we got to the part where she was locked in the room, it made total sense. I did like this. I will be keeping this. I don't know if I will read the second, and apparently there's a 3rd book in this series. I'm not 100% sure, but she didn't end this book to like start up for the next book, but I don't believe the people that she ended this book with is the start of the 2nd book. I think it's a whole different family. Those are my thoughts. These are the only 2 books that I read. I did actually end up finishing Pearl Harbor's Final Warning. I'm not counting any of these pages because I started skimming and I don't feel like I truthfully read this book, so I'm just going to say I finished this. I'm not going to count the pages for this. I'm sorry. I did finish it though, which is great. Hi, hello. I feel like it's been a very long time, and it has. Also, I know you can hear this. I'm 99% positive it is getting picked up by the mic right now. I am so sorry. I don't know what's going on in the houses that they are building right next to us, but construction problems are going on where they are making a lot of noise. It almost sounds like they're sanding. I'm sorry about the noise. I really wish I could stop it, but it's been going on for multiple weeks now, and they are not done with the houses yet. So we are moving in a month, so we don't have to worry about that too much longer. 2 whole weeks ago, I updated, and now I'm finally getting back to this. I kind of forgot. I was keeping track. I was still writing stuff down and I was keeping track, but in all honesty, I was not recording. I didn't record any shots of me reading any more than I did previous, and maybe I'll get with that for this last week since it's not even a full week, and I'm very sorry about that. We had a lot of things happen. I think when I last updated, it was when my son had surgery and I had a medical procedure, and then at the same time, I think that next week, we ended up actually having potential buyers. They just have to close on their house first. We already have like a closing date and everything like that picked out for next month. So with that being said, we've also had the dually. Fun times. It has been, I think, 3 weeks, maybe more. We actually for once had to go take it somewhere because since we are living in Las Vegas, we don't have a driveway. Our garage is only a 20 by 20. The dually does not fit in our garage and we can't just leave open the door. So we needed a new engine and we had to take it to an actual Chevy place to do that. For once, we're letting somebody else do our own maintenance on our vehicle just because it is a whole engine swap. We have been busy with that because it technically is finally finished like this past weekend, but of course it's one of those where they still have to try and figure out where it's leaking and then fix it, and it's getting to the point where we're just gonna have to say, hey, we're gonna cover the cost, let us just take it and then maybe we can fix it, and then that way we can also put on 1,000 miles in less than a month because we only basically have exactly a month left. We've had a lot going on and I've been kind of busy. I honestly have read but I have not read that much. I feel like I've been slacking, but majority of the days I do have at least 50 pages, so there's a plus for that. Anyways, let's get into the last 2 weeks. Looking back, I was actually still reading Frida McFadden's The Housemaid, and this was at the end of February, so this was February 25th. It was a Sunday, and we read for 70 pages. I then continued on Monday and read 74 pages, 115 on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday I didn't read a dang thing. I don't know what we were doing that day, but I guess I was too busy since I didn't pick up my books at all. I ended up on Tuesday actually finishing The Housemaid, and in turn I picked up Ellen Hildebrand's 28 Summers. This was the last book that I had to read on my February's TBR, so I did continue to read that book, and on Thursday I only read 22 pages. Again, not very good. Friday, another not very good day, 38 pages. Could I have read the last 12 pages? Probably. Did I? No. What was I doing? I don't remember because it's been a week. And then finally for this third week, we had Saturday at 64 pages. At least I finally hit my goal. In total for the whole week, I read 383 pages. Not too bad, but it was about 10 pages shy of our very first week when I started this video. So it wasn't necessarily too good. And then we came on to last week, which my husband was off for spring break. So this week I wanted to say that I read a lot, but in all honesty, I feel like I didn't read that much. I did hit my goal every single day, which is great. There's at least a plus for that. I was still really struggling to read this book and finish this book. I was hoping to be done by the 3rd of March, and it took me a little bit longer than the 3rd to finally finish this book. On Sunday, I read 73 pages. On Monday, I read 53 pages. On Tuesday, I read 83 and finally finished 28 Summers. Then on Wednesday, I ended up reading 56 pages and picked up Maybe Now. I picked this up super late at night. I do remember this because I wasn't sure if I wanted to read anything, and I was gonna take a break, and then I remembered about this video. I decided to do a simple romance, something that hopefully was going to fly by. Then on Thursday, I read 68 pages, and on Friday, 84 pages, and finally on Saturday, 52. Yes, we hit 50 pages every single day, but none of those days were over 100 pages. And in total, we read 469 pages for that entire week. It was 1 page shy of week 2 at 470. So we did a pretty decent job, especially compared to the last 2 weeks. They were not very good. This week, I'm hoping, like I said, to get back to reading a little bit more. I'm also hoping to finish Colleen Hoover's book and to pick up a new book. And I also want to actually have shots of me reading this time. I want to keep that in mind. I've been very busy off and on, and I feel like I have so much to do. But at the same time, I feel like there is plenty of time during the day. I just like to try and get my time a little bit better where I'm filming during like this hour because I like the lighting more. My camera does it better. It doesn't have as much grain compared to when it's really dark at night. But I do most of my reading right now at night. I've been doing it as much as I can right before bed. It's been helping me a lot. That is my terrible updates. I'm so sorry I didn't film for 2 weeks. In all honesty, I think the only things I filmed is we had a NASCAR and then a Nellis Air Show, and I think I just filmed those, and that was it. I didn't even film anything else this whole entire month. I feel like I've been very much slacking, which is bad because we are literally moving next month, and I need to pre-film for a majority of April and some of May. That way I don't have to stress out about videos while we move. Let's hope this week I do better, and I will get back to you in a few days. All right, let's go ahead and finish out this month-long video because some of these books, even though it's only been a month, I feel like it's been almost half a year since I read them. They seem so far away, and I don't know if it's because the months have been kind of going quick, but at the same time, very slow, if that makes sense. Like, they've been technically flying by once we're finished and past a certain point, but then I still look at the time that we have left to move, and I'm like, oh, we still have a month, less than a month, you know? Instead of just doing this week's, let's start from the top, do like a little summary of this whole video, and also then get to this week's that we just finished. Here's my finished sheet of paper. This is now looking very hectic, very crazy, a lot of stuff going on, and I'm honestly excited to get rid of it, to be done with this video, and to start editing it. Actually, I have been editing it. I think I just finished the last time I updated. I'm all the way done. I just need to do this week's, and then I need to add music and everything like that, rewatch it, prepare it, schedule it. The very first time that we decided to start this video, or I decided to start this video, was February 14th. It was Valentine's Day. First week, we started Anthony Doerr's All the Light That We Cannot See. I technically was buddy reading it with Pearl Harbor's Final Warning, but we'll get to this book in a minute. Started this book, or at least I was reading it the 14th, and we ended up finishing it the 17th. I rated this one 5 stars. I absolutely love this. I love historical fiction from time to time, especially during the wars, but I like the story with this one. It does feel still like a 5-star in some aspects, but it's been so long that also there's part of me that I feel like I've forgotten. I think the male character, his name was Warren, and then there was a Marie, Anne-Marie for the female. So it's like details like that that is slipping my mind. Other than that, I still absolutely love this book, and I was very thankful that I got to read it, and it was my first 5-star of the year. Pearl Harbor's Final Warning. Like I said, we kind of started this with All the Light We Cannot See. This book, however, I did say that I started it, or at least I was reading from page 56 to 102 on February 14th. Also read it on the 17th, but I have no clue when I finished it because I remember I didn't end up rating this because I started skimming like the last 100 pages or so. I did not actually write down the page numbers with that, if you can remember back to the beginning of this video. So I have no clue when I finished this book. I remember I didn't rate it just because I skimmed it. It was like a 2-3 star almost in my opinion. I don't know. I just lost interest in this book. But then I also wanted to finish it because I was so close to being done with it in my mind since I started it and I was over a third of the way to the finish line. I just wanted to finish it. Like I said, I didn't rate this one, but we did end up reading it, and I am counting it because even though I skimmed it, I still got some good information. And then the last book that we picked up during the first week was actually Girl in Pieces. I'm getting rid of this book. We ended up picking this up on the 17th, and I read 78 pages of this. Girl in Pieces, I remember I wasn't a big fan of. There was like the beginning part that I enjoyed, and then the very ending, like maybe the last 50, 100 pages. But the middle part, I just could not care less. There was a lot of things about this book that it was very mixed emotions the whole time. And we read this all the way up until the 23rd, which is week 2. I rated this book 3 stars. On the 23rd, since it was very close to the end of the month, I picked up The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. This was because this was my book club's book of the month for February. I ended up enjoying it a lot. I did rate it 4 stars. I definitely felt like this book was fine. It could have been a standalone. I won't be reading the next one or the third one. I've just kind of moved on. It was great to have. I liked having this one. I will be keeping this one. And we ended up only taking 5 days to read this. We read this from the 23rd to the 27th. Right after The Housemaid, I ended up picking up 28 Summers by Ellen Hildebrand because this was my final book on my February TBR that I had not gotten to. Also because I continuously put this book off for many reasons. Of course, we picked this up the 27th. We didn't read anything the 28th. We did, however, finish this book the 5th. I wanted to finish this book on like the 3rd, I think it was, and I just was not vibing with this book. It was taking me forever to read it. I was having a really hard time getting into any of it, and I just didn't care much for it. In the beginning, I loved it. I felt like almost like the Hotel Nantucket. It was making me excited to potentially read and finish the book, but as I continued reading, I just started dropping in stars where I was not enjoying it no more. It got worse as it went on, in my opinion. I know a lot of people liked this book a few years ago, but I ended up eventually getting to the end of it on the 5th and rating it 2 stars. I will not be keeping this, but at least I finally finished it, and I don't ever have to put it on a future TBR. And then I picked up Maybe Now by Colleen Hoover. I wanted to finish this series. This is also on my March TBR. We read this all the way from the 6th to the 11th, but there was a few days where I just was not reading this entire week. There were multiple times that I just did not read, did not hit my goal, or I would just hit the goal and only read about 50, maybe 60, 70 pages. Don't know if I ever really shared my thoughts too much on this. I feel like I kind of did. I don't remember a lot about it. I did rate it 3 stars. I remember the characters and the ending I feel like was the biggest why. Like, this is worse than cliche. This is like that annoyance. When I finished it, I was just kind of like, why did she write that? That just sounds so stupid in my opinion. And also, since we live in Las Vegas, the whole, if you've read this book, if you finished it, the whole going to Vegas to do a certain cliche thing, it's very annoying. You see it all the time. It's one of those stereotypical things revolving around Vegas. If you know, you know. This whole book, I was kind of intrigued because I just wanted to finish the whole series, but it just wasn't as good as the first one. And besides like the cheating trope, I enjoyed the first one story-wise, kinda. I liked how I read it, like how I felt while reading it. This book, however, I just almost felt like, why am I reading this? Can we just wrap this up? Why is there an extra 100 pages? What is going on? I did kind of like the side plot of Maggie, but I was confused on everything that was going on. Not fully confused, just confused as why are we reading about this? And then I picked up Remember the Alamo. This is the shortest book on my TBR, physical TBR, also on March's TBR. It was good. I didn't rate it. I don't know what I would have rated it if I had to rate it. It was only like 175 pages, 178. I read it in like 2 days. I think I read 18 pages the first day, the rest of the book the next day. I picked it up the 11th and finished it on the 12th. It's a good book to know, to read, and I am glad I read it, but at the same time, it's one of those that I feel like I just didn't need to read it. I almost could have taken it off my physical TBR. Later on, when my son's a little bit older, I can sit down and I can read this with him, and I feel like it'd be a great history type book for him to learn and to try and remember for his childhood. Remember the Alamo is, like I said, great to read, but at the same time, I didn't know what to rate it. I wasn't really enjoying it. I wasn't in the mood for it. I guess that's the best term. I wasn't necessarily in the mood for it, just like Pearl Harbor's Final Warning, but I did not rate this. And finally, just a couple days ago, we picked up the 4th and final book in the Beautiful Creature series. This is Beautiful Redemption. As always, jump right into this book, and I'm already intrigued, except for the fact that there's something that happens at the end of the last book. It's like a cliffhanger, like a major cliffhanger compared to the other 2 books. I did enjoy that, don't get me wrong, but when I started this book, because it's been over a month since I last picked up the other book, or maybe it's been about a month, because I think I read Beautiful Chaos in the beginning of February. So finally getting into this book, I was kind of confused, and I was like, wait a minute, how did we end the last book? And then when I remembered, I was like, oh, okay, this one's a little bit different than all the other ones. There's actually 3 whole books, or 3 big giant parts inside of this book. So we start off with like a prologue in Lena's point of view. Then we go to Ethan in like book 1, all the way up until 200 pages. Then it goes to Lena, and then goes back to Ethan. But the back of the book basically was talking about how Ethan is stuck in one, we'll just say dimension, and he's trying to get back home to the other dimension or world. If you've read the series, you might understand if you've gotten this far. If not, I can't give too much detail because there's a lot of things that go on, but it's a little bit different just because he has to find his way back home from like a whole nother world, whole nother dimension. So it's intriguing. I'm not that far into it. I'm only at page 60, which is not that far. I read 50 pages the first day, and then yesterday I read 10 pages. I did not hit my 50 pages read goal for yesterday, which is kind of sad. Let's go into each week, how many pages I read each week, what my original total goal was supposed to be for the whole entire month, and then what I actually accomplished. So first off, for 30 days, if we read 50 pages, we were supposed to hit 1,500 pages read for the entire month. So for week 1, it wasn't a very long week. We read a total of 398 pages. Week 2, it was a full week. We had a couple of bad days of only reading 0 pages and 12 pages. But in total, we read 470 pages that week. The end of February, beginning of March week, we actually read 383. Like I said before, we had some bad days. 0 pages read, 22 pages read, 38 pages read. We skipped a few days. By the end of the 4th week, we read 469. We were coming back to one of our higher weeks. This was the 2nd highest week. And then finally, this was not a full entire week. This was only a 5-day week. This last week, or this week technically, was only 387 pages. So not too bad, but there was yesterday that I read 10 pages in total. So in total, out of the 30 days that we were supposed to read 50 pages every single day, we only missed 6 days. 6 days were less than 50. 2 of those were 0. And then at least 4 of those were 10 plus, because I had 2 different days that had about 10 or 12. I take it for a whole month, since we had a few things going on, a medical procedure for me, a surgery for my son, where my husband was off. off. We had a pretty decent week or a decent month of reading. And like I said, 1,500 pages was our goal. And in total, for every single week, every single day that we did read, I read a total of 2,107 pages. So we accomplished our goal and also added more than 500 pages to our goal, which was very exciting. I was very happy about that. At least I accomplished that. I had fun doing this video. It did just take a little bit longer, so it took more effort. And then obviously trying to remember everything, I had to write everything down. I'm glad I wrote some stuff down. I wish I would have wrote a little bit more down, more so when it came down to describing the books that I might have forgotten a little bit. So I'm sorry about that. This was a fun challenge though. If you are a creator, if you make videos and you want to try out this challenge, even if just keeping it simple, reading like 10 pages a day or doing something every day for a month, since it's a longer time frame, I feel like it's more of a challenge, even if the page numbers aren't that high. It's more so just remembering to do it, remembering not to skip, and also remembering to keep track. That was the hardest things in my opinion. I had so much fun, in all honesty, doing this video. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you guys all enjoyed it as much as I did. I hope to see y'all in another video here on my channel, and God bless.